Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I hope you've all calmed yourselves, got yourselves back together, composed yourselves after what was an exciting deadline day. Anyone? No? All joking aside, deadline day was yesterday as of recording this, and we added our final player from the transfer window. And if you don't know, it is Salomon Rondon. This is his transfer reaction video. Yeah, that's right, big Salomon Rondon. You might know him from his time at West Brom, his time at Newcastle. He's been a bit of a journeyman in his career, though. He's been at Dalian most recently. He's been at Zenit, Rubin Kazan, La Palma, Malaga. So he's been everywhere, really. I think he's just come off a CSKA Moscow loan as well. So he's a bit of a journeyman in the world of football, but he's a man that Rafa Benitez knows very well. He's a man that Rafa Benitez likes, and vice versa. He was very kind in his comments about Benitez, which I'll get onto later. But it basically just says he's excited that he's joining the club, but he's also excited to be, so he's excited to be with Rafa Benitez again. And Rafa Benitez's Twitter, which I don't think Rafa Benitez runs, by the way. I think he has someone else do it because it's called RafaBenitez.com or something odd like that. But Rafa Benitez has also said, that he's happy on his Twitter account to be reunited. It's good that their paths have crossed once again. So, I've got the tweet here from Rafa Benitez web. It says, "Welcome Rondon, our paths cross one more time. I hope we celebrate with some victories. Soon with victories. Make of that what you will." I personally, I don't think that is Rafa Benitez. just off the off, I think it's his PR guy. But make it out what you will. But yeah, on a free transfer, I don't think this is the worst sign in the world. Don't get me wrong. This transfer window hasn't been very exciting, but we've got a lot of videos coming, and me, Paul, Terry at one point, Cal, Brannan, and Mike from the Unholy Trinity podcast. We're all on yesterday on a live stream, which you can go check on the channel. And towards the end, we mentioned, our thoughts on the whole window as a whole. And we've got plenty more videos coming out about the window and brands and all that stuff. Today, we'll just keep it on the man himself, the Salamander, Salomon Rondon. I will say this, if you'd asked me a week ago, I'd have said, yeah, it makes sense, it's not the worst transfer in the world, don't get me wrong, it's not the most exciting, but it's not the worst. Then we got supposedly linked with Odsonne Edouard, and then I got excited, because that's a player I really wanted. And then we came back to Rondon, because that seems to have been made up. My stance hasn't changed. It's a bit deflating to go from Edouard, who's going to be a really good young talent, and he's a very good player now, to Salomon Rondon, but that shouldn't cloud my judgment on him. Hasn't changed. I think it's a transfer that makes sense. I think it's a very safe transfer. He works well with Rafa Benitez. He's a powerful centre forward, which I think Everton fans love. Paul mentioned that yesterday. He said, we want a centre forward who's big, powerful, going to get in amongst the defenders and bully them. That's the type that gets Goodison rocking, and I agree with him on those sentiments. And most importantly for me, I like the fact that he is very similar in some areas to Calvert-Lewin, in the fact that they're both aerially very dominant players. I'm going to say it now. Calvert-Lewin's a lot more mobile and a bit of a better dribbler, but you can see the similarities between the two, and I think that's very, very important. Because sometimes last season I noticed if Calvert-Lewin was injured, we didn't have Calvert-Lewin up front, but we'd play the same way. I know different manager, so Benitez probably would tell them not to do this, but you never know. I think we went into autopilot and we'd lunge the ball up and we'd have no one to aim it at because Calvert-Lewin was out, and it comes straight back down and we'd be on the back. And that felt like our sort of tactic last year, that when Calvert-Lewin wasn't in the side, still to play the long diagonal balls forward and hope that whoever's up front would do it. I think it was Richarlison for large parts, who isn't bad in the air, but he's nowhere near DCL's calibre. He can't jump as high as Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Whereas Rondon, I feel like if Dominic Calvert-Lewin was out the side, we would still be able to play that football of get it in to him and he will win aerial threats. Also, from a tactical point of view, Benitez seems to really like this direct football. I was going to say counter-attack, but it's a bit press. It's still quite pressing style of play. But he likes to get it to the wings, whip crosses in, which I've got nothing against. That's no negative connotation. I like aggressive, direct football. I think it's the best type of football, and I think it gets Goodison absolutely rocking. And I think it's Everton's DNA. James has mentioned it on the channel, and I agree with him. I think it is in Everton's DNA. My dad will bang on all day, every day about 4-4-2 with wingers and two good high centre forwards being Everton's DNA as well. He bangs on about that till the cows come home to me, and I'm sat there like, I know. But he's right though. He is right. I think that is sort of the style we go for, and Rondon suits that mould. I don't think we will see. We might do. But I can't see us seeing an awful lot of Rondon and Calvert-Lewin linking up. I think Benitez will still like to play this 4-2-3-1 and when needs be a 4-4-2 with Richarlison joining him. Just because Richarlison is a lot better to move off, his movement off the ball is a lot better. So DCL will still hold it up playing through. But Rondon is for me, I think it makes a lot of sense in terms of he will be a DCL replacement. A little bit like for like. Like I said, Calvert-Lewin's a lot more mobile. But yeah, so tactically it makes a lot of sense as well. And it on a free transfer for a 2-year deal with an option to extend the third. I think we'd have all liked it to be a one. Well, I personally would have liked it to be a 1 year, just because he will only last as long as Benitez lasts at the club. Which might be 2 years, and probably why the club said it, and because he's probably said I want a 2 year. But I'm thinking worst case scenario. I mean, even then it's only a year. But if he doesn't make the year, which I think he probably will. We've still got him. I just think if you're going to buy managers, players, you need to put them on short-term contracts at Everton, because very often the players outsee the managers, and that's what's got us in this mess. Either that, or we change the setup completely and we buy players that suit a certain style and hire managers that play that style. That's how I would do it. I've said this till the cows come home. But yeah, looking at it, Rondon on a 2-year deal is not awful. I'm looking at a couple of his career stats now. For Venezuela, he's played 78 games, scored 29 goals, which isn't bad. Also worth pointing out, he might bring some Venezuelan fans over. We already have quite good South American links with Colombia, hopefully, and Brazil. Hopefully it brings over some Venezuelan fans. The Toffees are very South American right now. But he started, in La Palma. He's got 12 goals and 48. Malaga he did well at, but we'll get on to the more recent ones, because you don't want to know what he was doing when he was like 21. You want to know what he was doing recently. So when he was last in the Premier League, he played for West Brom, 123 games, 28 goals. Not the best for a striker, but I would argue he's not necessarily the goal scorer. He will pop in with him, but he's more, like I said, you can play off him, which is what Everton like to do. We like to play off a big man, so he fits that mould as well. For Newcastle, he played 33 and scored 12. And then when he went to Dalian, he's played 28, scored 14. And as recently as CSKA Moscow in February to June, he played 13 and scored 4 goals. Like I said, I don't think he's a massive goal scorer. I think he's more your play-off. He's got 2 assists for CSKA Moscow. He got 3 in the Chinese Super League. And he got 7 in the Premier League in his 2018-19 season. So I think that's the type of player, and not just assists, but balls down to another players, bringing players into the game, just bullying the centre-backs, which, I think he will do brilliantly. He will certainly bring more players or wingers into the game more, as he'll be able to shrug off defenders. And the Premier League is very physical. We've seen it a number of times. Timo Werner is the most recent one, where strikers struggle with the Premier League because of the physicality. So if we can have a striker that can bully them back a bit, that's even better. And he is a physically imposing guy. I remember when he was at West Brom and when he was at Newcastle, he was absolutely a monster sometimes to play against. And I'm just putting this out there. Obviously, some of you will go, well, that's not brilliant because we need him, as a striker. But he apparently is a very nice guy as well. I remember when he was involved with McCarthy's leg break, and he was devastated, and he genuinely did I got the feeling he was genuinely distraught. And he offered, sympathies. And Newcastle fans love him as well, which is another thing. Newcastle fans are a bit gutted we've got him. So if they like him, maybe that's another thing. I'm not going to get into the actual things of the window. I think the window's been disappointing. But as a sole individual, I don't think this is an awful signing. I think it's one that makes sense. Don't get me wrong, it's not my dream signing. It could have been a lot worse though. We could have gone for a lot worse players. We could have asked Andy Carroll what he's doing. That could have been a lot worse. He's certainly a better player than Andy Carroll. It makes a lot of... I can't express that I'm okay with it because it makes a lot of sense for how we play, how we're going to play, how our centre forwards that have done well have been built. And that for me, it makes it a lot easier to accept, a lot easier to... And it's a safe one as well. 2 years isn't a long time, so that's this season and next season. That's, in the grand scheme of things, not a long time. We could, if we wanted to get rid of him sooner than that, there would be a club that take him out on loan as well. So, it's a very small... I'm hoping... I don't know the contract details. I'm hoping it's not extortionate and lucrative, because I hope we've learned our lessons from giving big players lucrative contracts and have ended up not going down very well. But like I said, for me, tactically, it makes sense. It's not the most exciting, and I think we've been spoilt a little bit by us spending large amounts of money. We've got an owner we know has got the pockets, but obviously due to FFP, we've not been able to. And I think a little bit of that has sort of made us I'm going to say slightly spoilt us. This feels more like a signing before Farhad Majiri in the Moyes era, where he's a hard-working utility player who will bully defenders, bring people into other team members into play. He does feel a bit like, you could argue he could feel a little bit Moyes-esque when Moyes was at Everton as well, which isn't a knock either. Some of our better signings came under that era, and they all worked hard. So maybe we're going back to the hard work in Everton, and this is one of the transfers. I think Townsend and Gray also suit that narrative, more Townsend. But yeah, guys, from me personally, if I had to rate it out of 5, I'd give it a 3. He's not the most exciting player, and he's getting on to the later years of his career, so I'm not going to give him a 4 or 5. But he's not. I don't think he's as awful as some of the players we could have got, which I know isn't the greatest thing to have said. There could be worse, isn't the greatest Amazon review. But he suits our style of play. He suits how I think we're going to play. He'll bully defenders. He'll bring more people into play. And if Dominic Calvert-Lewin is out, he's a like for like in some areas, so our style of play won't change rapidly, which offers a bit more familiarity for a lot of the team. And for me, that's why I'm going to give him a 3 out of 5. But yeah, let us know down below your thoughts on Salomon Rondon, the big salamander. Try and leave your views on the rest of the window out, just because I know we're going to do videos about that, and I know we've all got opinions on the window, and we will talk about them in other videos. Try and focus on just Salomon Rondon as the man he is. And let us know your ratings down below, what you're excited about, what you're not excited about. Like I said, I'm excited about the fact he's a physical striker, and I think he will give his all for Everton. I think he will play his heart out. Just before we do leave, I do have the quote from him though, and he said, "Defending the colours of the club with a rich history like Everton fills me with pride. I can't wait to pull on the shirt and be united with Rafa Benitez, a coach who changed the way I understand the game. I'm really grateful for the faith he's shown in me." So that, to me, makes it sound like he's very, very happy to join up with Rafa. I think Rafa did do very well for his career, and I think he will get the best out of him. We talk about Rafa getting the best out of underutilized players. Maybe this is it. But yeah, like I said, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and comment down below on any of Rondon. Give me a rating out of 5 for him. Give me what you like about him, and give me what just give me your thoughts and opinions. I think he'll shock a couple of people. Don't forget, you can buy any Everton merchandise through the Everton direct link. The link is in the description down below as always. You can also follow myself and the Toffee Blues on Twitter. They're in the link as always. And most importantly, stay safe. And let's hope for a really, really good season.